And we're back with Alex Appleton, an education reporter for the Fresno Bee. Sticking around to talk some education politics. It was one of the things we're covering so many things, but there was a lot of education races that really we haven't really had that much of a time to get to. But for example, Brooke Ashton, the controversial school board trustee for Fresno Unified, he decided not to run for re-election.
Right.
But his chosen replacement actually did win this race.
That's right. Major Terry Sladek, whose signs you've probably seen all over the Bullard region. That's what he told me. He thinks he won because he won the sign wars. In a very crowded race, he thinks he stood out because his signs were the biggest and on the right blocks, and people remembered his name.
So I'm curious because, you know, Brooke Ashton was so controversial and people loved him, people hated him. Is there anything about Terry Sladek right now that stands out to say he might go down, he might be like Ashton?
Sure, that's the big question. You know, that's something I asked him myself, and he told me, while I love and respect Brooke Ashton, I'm my own man, and he's a former Marine Corps major, and he thinks he's going to go in and do his own thing the way he thinks it should be done, which is not necessarily the way that Brooke Ashton thought it would be done. So only time will tell for sure.
Yeah, you said Central Unified was actually the most interesting.
Sure, Central Unified had a pretty big year. They ousted their very popular superintendent, Mark Sutton, and that was an unpopular choice with a lot of parents who basically said, well, the board members who did this, we want them out, we want them gone, and they succeeded. They replaced, I think it was 3 board members that voted to oust Mark Sutton have all been replaced by challengers, by new faces.
And I don't think, did we ever get an explanation as to why he was?
There was never a reason given. The reason that they gave was that they wanted to go in a new direction, and parents begged them, said, please hold on, just wait till after the election. We really like this guy, and they didn't want to.
And it's not the first time that's happened either, but I mean, we've seen this happen before. This is a familiar song and dance where superintendent is axed, no real reason is given, parents are upset, and then school board members are kicked out or recalled. It sometimes happened as well.
Right, and that was one of the threats at Central too, was a recall election for some of the board members who were not up for election, but that never happened. So that a couple of them are still on the board. But there are new faces on there, and they didn't rule out the possibility of bringing Mark Sutton back.
Interesting. All right, anything else catch your eye?
So there was one race at Central that it's still a little bit undecided about who's going to take it. It was separated by 7 votes at one point. So if you think your vote doesn't matter, it certainly does, especially over there.
Valadeo Cox Part 2.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right. That's interesting. School bonds, there wasn't really anything big this time around for Fresno Unified.
No, not for Fresno Unified. A couple of smaller districts, Parlier and Sanger, have some school bonds that will hopefully fund what it is they need. Construction is typically what these bonds fund.
And they passed. Have we found that school bonds typically do pass? Of all the stuff, I find that typically voters end up usually saying yes to these things.
Yeah, I think school bonds pass and parcel taxes don't. You'd think.
Yeah. Well, we've certainly noticed that. Anything? Have I missed anything? I know. Well, let's see. The State Center Community College District, they always had stuff going on, right?
Sure. Yeah, they have 2 new faces on there too. Nishanika was a longtime board member who was replaced by newcomer Magdalena Gomez, and Annalisa Perea is actually taking a seat.
And yes, it is another Perea.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not just happens to be the same name. It's the same family.
That's right. The dynasty.
Yeah, Alex, thanks so much for filling us in on this. Thanks so much for participating on the panel. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
And we thank you for being with us. Stick around though. Our tweet of the week next.